voter registration, and our guests will be assessing the experience had here in Lagos. Joining us to discuss this important topic, especially as the election time is approaching. It's very close to us. We have joining us social affairs commentator Nelson Ekujunmi. He's a friend of the house. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
All right, sir. So we're talking about assessing the exercise here in Lagos. For you as a Lagos resident, looking at it overall, the continuous voter registration exercise, looking at how awareness was done, response of residents. I'd like you to do an overall assessment of it.
Well, the exercise went and was concluded successfully. One of the high point of the exercise was that you saw political parties using even their social media handles, to propagate the message, calling on their supporters, even the political parties themselves, calling on residents. And we also saw the local government administrations as well also key into that mobilization of the citizenry. And a lot of Lagosians assess that opportunity. Those who are yet of age as at the last election, who have now come of age now, were able to exercise their rights in getting registered. By and large, there were some issues. I think I had reports that I even had to escalate to INEC office, where person said after doing the virtual registration themselves, when they came to the capturing, that they were now told to go to some locations very far from where they were domiciled, and they felt that if they need to go there, then they might as well forget about getting registered. But one was lucky enough; they were reverted back to the primary or the nearest INEC office around them, and the report didn't come back. A lot of times our people is such that they will make a complaint. When the complaint is resolved, nobody hears anything again. They keep it to themselves. So by and large, I think it went well.
Okay, some Lagosians or some Nigerians have reacted to this continuous voter registration. That if it is continuous, why does it have a starting and an ending?
Well, don't forget that the electoral system is governed by laws, and that law stipulates the period when the registration of voters must end before elections. And even as at that, when voters are registered, INEC as an institution now goes in-house to do an auditing. That is when you hear reports of people who have been registered maybe in Sokoto State before, and who have come back to get themselves registered there.
Lagos.
That is when they clean the register of such double registrants. So INEC, as much as they are guided by law, they must also be acknowledged of the fact that they have to put their house in order. And putting the house in order means that those registrants have to be compiled. The register has to be thoroughly checked to ensure that the proper details have been inserted into it, such that when there's any anomaly, they can quickly rectify. So that was exactly what happened.
Okay, I know,
No, go ahead.
Okay, when we started the show, Joy said you should just give us a brief assessment of the whole exercise. I'd like you to talk about what stood out for you, throughout the exercise. Was it the organization? Was it the turnout of people? Or was it the challenges, faced?
Well, it's a mixed bag. The turnout of our people naturally. We are like, we love adopting the fire brigade approach. The continuous voters registration exercise started over 2 years ago. it was being done intermittently.
Okay.
Maybe January to March.
March, yeah.
It will be stopped. Then another round of the exercise will be maybe June to September. And you know, it has been a continuous process even since 2023, if I'm correct. But knowing fully well the nature of we human beings, somebody will, it's just like on the day of voting.
You leave everything to the last minute.
Yes, somebody will tell you, you go and vote. Tell me, when you come back, you tell me the number of people that are there so that I'll know when to come.
Why are Nigerians like that, really? When
I
do they like to push everything to the last minute?
They need to study that behavior. The behavior of Nigerians on election day. And even for so many other things. If you tell them that they should go and register for BVN and you put a terminal date, a lot of them will say, I don't have time now. When you now tell them that that thing is closing tomorrow, that is when the pressure will now come on the authority. That, you have to extend, we can't access. So you ask yourself, where have you been all these days? This thing didn't just start yesterday, you know. So for me, I think the turnout was fair. The organization by INEC also was, you know, was very good. And those challenges, in areas where challenges, you know, reared its head, they were promptly resolved. So by and large, I think the exercise was, you know, was very, very successful.
Talking about challenges, one stood out, you know, for Nigerians, which was the long queues, and I think you mentioned something like that earlier, that for those who even had to just do what they had to do online and still had to come out and capture that, why couldn't everything be done? It's not so hard to capture. We do that, especially when we go for our registration of SIMs and all of that, and they capture us on the camera.
Well, the truth of the matter is that election is a security matter. And I'm sure we're all aware of several occasions where Nigerian Immigration Service have apprehended foreigners in possession of voters' card.
Oh.
By law.
Okay.
A non-Nigerian
should not
have
vote.
the rights to be in possession of a voter's card. And that is why it is part of the security check that has necessitated your being physically present to be able to assess that you are really a Nigerian. It is not for any other thing. And that is why when people say, oh, why can't we stay in our homes and vote? The question I always, you know, retort back is that, can you mention one country in the world, even the almighty US or Britain, when it's election time, you go to the polling station because it's a national security matter.
True.
Yeah. So you staying in your home to be captured, I'm sure you can also take your mind back to what has happened recently with regards to the NBA election, where it was a tug of war. So
even some of the candidates couldn't vote themselves.
Absolutely. Even I think one of the leading lights of the NBA said it took him about 10 tries before he could, you know, before he could access the OTP that came, you know. So while you can do the inputting your data, your physical registration is a security issue that must be, you know, addressed, and that is the reason why you have to go to the INEC office to do that physically, just like you do for your, you know, even your driver's license. You have to. You can fill every form online, but the capturing, you must be in the office to know that.
True. Okay, because again, between the last election that was held in the country and now, you have a lot of young people who have turned 18. And so how would you assess the participation of young adults rather, in registering for the PVCs?
Well, the participation of young adults and maybe teenagers, if I should put it that way, is still, you know, maybe on the average. But the only mechanism to motivate and mobilize them to also participate in the process is when we have educative program on what election, you know, or our democracy is all about, when they have that information at the back of their mind. Because a lot of times, you know, our young people tend to run with how will I say, peer pressure. And sadly, they have a lot of distractions. Unlike what happened, what was the case during our days. You know, during our days, you subject every issue to, you know, intellectual, you know, interrogation. But these days, you see a young man flying around with an information and you ask him, what is the source? He'll just tell you, my friend, he sent it to me. And you are,
social media.
you know, that I said a lot of distractions. I meant the social media. And, you know, they are not interrogating facts. They run majorly with sentiments. And when you try, you know, to educate them, they are not even willing. Like one of them told me when they said, this generation is a generation of copy and paste. And I said, very unfortunate.
What does that mean?
No, that whatever they get, they don't fact check it.
Okay.
They just swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. Very few of them interrogate fact. Like I have kids, and I tell them that in my days when we were in the university, there are days we don't go to the classroom. We stay in our hostel. We discuss sports, politics, religion, entertainment. We'll discuss from morning till night. When we have discussed to a level and everybody is hungry, we'll go to our various rooms to go and eat. We'll now reconverge. We'll discuss everything under the sun. So I don't know whether that still obtains, but if that still obtains, they have not exhibited it.
They'll tell you that you were not exposed then. That's why you were only discussing what you had access to.
Well, as little as our exposure was then, we discussed issues that even pertain to the Western world. You know, that was the era of the East and the West. Bloc. You know, so there was nothing, unlike these days, that the information is even at their fingertips, and they are not ready to access it. Every time you see them on TikTok, what is you say you are watching one guy will stay at a bus stop, you know, they call them content creation, and I wonder what value that one will bring to you.
They are laughing at you, sir. You
can
can hear them giggling.
It's their generation. It's their generation.
Okay, okay, go, Joy.
It's just a follow-up to the question. I ran into a report. I'm trying to look for it and I can't find it again. I saw that the report said that women also had the highest number of registrants. Yes, I'd like you to also comment on that.
No, you know, if you understand our political environment, you know that the women are a very, very critical factor. The women are the only ones among the voting population that will get to a political arena and they can spend the whole day. The commitment of the women is 100%. The men could be white in the morning and they could turn blue in the afternoon.
Why?
But when the women are with you, they are with you.
Okay, as a man, why is that? Thank God you're a man.
Not all men.
But not all men.
No, absolutely.
But
I won't speak generally. Not all men.
But over time,
the loyalty of the women.
Women, yeah.
You know, if you, as a political office holder or a politician, if you have more of the women with you, you can be sure that that support will not diminish by one. From morning till night. You know, the commitment of the women to political activism is, you know, is higher than that of men if you look at. But the population of the men is, you know, is larger. But the women, in this case, because of the fact that, maybe because of the temperament that God has put in them, I wouldn't know. You know, when the women are with you, they are with you. But if they are not with you, they are outside there. And I can just hazard that guess. I can't explain because I have not carried out a study to, you know, to bring out that conclusion that this is the reason why the women population is higher than the men. But you can be rest assured that if the women are convinced about a course of action, it's very, very difficult to change them from that line. Maybe that could be a reason why their participation, you know, has been on the increase. Okay,
still talking about the large participation, but not of women now, of Nigerians generally during this exercise. It was recorded that, you know, towards the end, of the exercise, a lot of people, came out to register. But why does this happen when you have a large turnout of people to register? Why doesn't it translate, to voting election day?
Well, the reason why it doesn't translate to that type of population election day is that a lot of persons, because of so many factors, come out to register. Some, they have this belief that when my child is of school age, I might be asked to go and bring my voter's card.
It's not necessarily because they want to vote.
It's not necessarily because they want to vote, yes.
Oh, okay.
So people obtain the voter's card for so many reasons. And some, even on election day, they are not motivated to go and vote. Maybe because of the circumstances surrounding them. So when a lot of some also use that voter's card as a form of identification.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine a woman who is selling pepper, and tomorrow maybe a bank comes and wants to access them some facilities, and they say, bring a national document that you have.
That's all they have.
Voter's card will suffice.
That's all they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, when they even turn up to register, why is it that they sometimes do not even go back to collect their PVCs? Because if it is that important to them to go and register because of some of the reasons you have mentioned, why is it that they never pick up their PVCs?
We can point to ignorance and lack of knowledge about the importance of democratic system. Because ordinarily, when you know you are a citizen of a country and you know that your destiny revolves around what happens in that country, you must be interested in the political trajectory of your environment. But sadly, a lot of our people, even when on the day of election, even some of them that have the voter's card, parties have to hire canvassers to go and entice them from their homes to go and vote because they don't understand the reason why they are voting. Some even get to the polling station and they are looking right and left, waiting for party agents to induce them. Yes, that's the irony of, because if I'm somebody will get to the polling station and tell you, I don't even know who to vote for, and you are like, what? Campaign has been on for almost 3 years. There's posters there. Even if you look around this polling station environment, you will see different posters. But that's the irony of our situation. You cannot just explain why somebody will register to be a voter only for him not to turn up to collect his voter's card. That tells you clearly that maybe he just did that to fulfill all righteousness, because at times it could be that their religious or their association mandated them to go and register. I was also there. Iyalagbada saw me, I registered now. And at times some of them in the associations, they might be told that if you don't go and register, you not access some favors. And in order to show that they are eligible, they will turn up, because a lot of times when they make those promises to them, they will turn up to register, but go and collect your PVC will become a big problem.
Maybe they won't get what's the thing they were giving out during the COVID
palliative. Since we're also talking about factors that are affecting voter participation, now so many people believe that their votes don't count, and so this is also a factor that could affect voter participation.
That is an absolute lie. That is an absolute. Anybody who has monitored our democracy since 2015. When our votes didn't count was in the era of 1999 to 2007, when we had a former President Olusegun Obasanjo at the helm of affairs and a Professor Morris who was INEC chairman. Since Professor Atairu Jega mounted the saddle and handed over to Professor Mahmoud Yakub and now Professor Amukwiton, our vote, in fact, the conduct of our elections by INEC
Has improved.
should be a reference point for the rest of the world. You know why I say that?
Right.
Before now, you could vote even without your PVC. You can see that the era of thumb printing, ballot snatching has become a thing of the past because of the introduction of technology. INEC has introduced PVC, INEC has introduced BVAS, INEC has introduced IREV. Such that without the BVAS, before it was e-card reader, without that electronic device authenticating your identity, you cannot vote. In the past, one man could vote for 10 people. If you remember the elections of Olagusoyo Oyinlola in Osun
State.
The election of Olusegun Agagu in Ondo State, where it was proven that the results returned, that it was impossible
to have the figure,
to have that type of figure within that allotted time. That it means somebody was just completing.
Yeah.
That for a voter to exercise it before the name will be checked, before we collect the ballot paper, print to come and drop into the box, it will spend at least 2 to 3 minutes. But from the Mago under Maurice Uwu and former President Obasanjo, somebody was voting in 1 second. And scientifically, it was proven that it was impossible. That was why those elections were annulled, with the court threw the elections into the dustbin of history. So our votes, even if somebody is mischievous enough to say our votes don't count, why are we complaining about vote buying? Why do parties, you know what?
Still induce.
Everybody is aware now that the outcome of an election is determined at the polling stations, not even the collation center. Because it is what transpired. If you cannot do what you want to do to make voters vote for you at the polling station, forget it. So anybody saying our votes do not count is only being unfair and wicked.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nelson Ekujunmi, social affairs commentator. We've been talking about continuous voter registration, assessment of exercise in Lagos. So you know what to do. If you know you have come of age, that is, you have attained the age of 18, and you did not register before July 26, you have to wait another 4 years, right? No, another 3 years? After the elections, then that is when you have the opportunity to go and register to vote again. And if you have not collected your PVC, you can't vote without it. Please go and collect it. We'll be on a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues.